After 3 years of denied raises, I was fired for job hunting. What happened next will inspire you. Sarah felt as if her heart had been ripped from her chest that day. She had poured her soul into her job over the last 3 years, breaking her back to exceed expectations while juggling the responsibilities of being a single mom. The promotion she was promised never materialized. And when she discreetly started searching for new opportunities during lunch breaks, her company made a choice that felt like a pile of bricks crashing down around her. She was fired on the spot. The cold, sterile office suddenly felt like a suffocating prison, the cheerful fluorescent lights mocking her as she gathered her things. As she stepped into the crisp Ohio air, tears streamed down her cheeks, and every bill stacked on the kitchen table flooded her mind like an unstoppable tide. "Mom, can you help with my homework?" Her son's voice echoed from the living room, a stark reminder of the dreams he once held, dreams she was now terrified might slip away like sand through her fingers. Sarah knew he saw the bills, the worry etched into her forehead. She ached to be a rock for him, but all she felt was like a wave endlessly crashing against a shore with no reprieve. Finding a flicker of hope in despair, Sarah threw herself into her search for a new job. Each click of her computer felt like a footstep toward freedom. Then came her neighbors, rallying around her. "We're having a barbecue this weekend," Laura from next door announced. "All the proceeds will go to help Sarah." The evening air buzzed with laughter and the smell of grilled burgers. Sarah stood off to the side, watching the community she loved come together for her. Children played, families mingled, and there was a warmth that wrapped around her, tying her spirit to something bigger. "Sarah," called out Mrs. Thompson, laden with a casserole. "We're all in this together." Amidst overwhelming kindness, Sarah uncovered an unexpected passion lurking in her heart. Picking up paintbrushes from her forgotten hobbies, she began to pour her emotions onto canvas. Soon enough, a small home-based art business blossomed, her struggles transmuted into vibrant strokes of hope. But just as life began to feel less heavy, the temptation of quick riches dangled before her, an art commission that required compromising her values. The thought sank like a lead ball in her stomach. Take the cash and feed her son, or stay true to what she believed in? The air grew thick as she faced the mirror, her reflection mirroring the battle within a mother fighting for integrity against a backdrop of financial struggle. Did she want to be an artist the world admired or just a provider? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The decision loomed, heavy and suffocating. Sarah's friends had been her lifeline through the storm, but could she shatter the very principles that seemed to guide her? The eyes of her son sparkled with the last vestiges of hope as he inspired her to rise above the struggle. In that moment, Sarah found clarity amidst the chaos. Standing at the precipice of choices, she made a promise to herself that no matter the outcome, she would fight for herself and her son, determined not to let the weight of the world rob her of her spirit. How could she face her community and her son if she turned away from the person she truly was? A quiet strength ignited a fire within her. But would she choose the easy escape, or embrace the hard path toward integrity? The answer lingered in the air like a storm waiting to break, leaving readers anxious to discover the world of Sarah's next chapter. The morning sun spilled into Sarah's kitchen, dust motes dancing in its warm glow. As she sipped her coffee, she felt a flicker of determination rise within her. The art business she had started was scrawny but alive, and she was beginning to see the potential within each canvas. Each night she painted, she transformed her pain into color, her worries into expressions that spoke of hope and resilience. Her phone buzzed with notifications as she glanced beneath her paint-splattered apron. An email popped up. It was the response to her latest submission for a local art show. She took a breath, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. The last show had been tough, she hadn't sold a single piece. Would this be another blow, or would it carry the promise of something new, tentatively, she opened the email. Dear Sarah, we are delighted to inform you her breath caught. She'd been accepted. Joy erupted within her like fireworks, her heart lifted. The tiny gallery, run by a passionate couple who believed in community artists, offered her a chance to showcase her work. She couldn't help but smile, picturing her son's face lighting up when she shared the news. Mom! He'd exclaim, his eyes sparkling with pride. But right then, the thought of the commission from earlier flooded her mind, looming like a dark cloud. Suddenly, doubt crept back in. What if this opportunity wasn't enough? What if she didn't make any sales again? The temptation of the commission returned, tempting her visions of security. A quick fix, just like she had been longing for. But at what cost? Later that day, she found herself staring at a blank canvas, paintbrush poised with her hand trembling slightly. She swayed between two worlds, one that offered guarantees of bills paid, and another that promised unyielding truth. The mirror reflected both aspects of her life, Sarah the artist and Sarah the caretaker. Mom, can I see your artwork? Her son peeked into the room, nervously eyeing the canvas. The innocence in his request snapped her back to reality. Of course, honey, she replied, moving the brush aside. He approached, a mix of curiosity and admiration on his face. Can you paint me a dragon? He asked, tilting his head. A dragon? She repeated, then grinned. Sure, bud. A fierce dragon it will be. As she started sketching, she listened to him ramble about legends and adventures. In the warmth of their shared moment, clarity flooded over her. This wasn't just about survival, it was about nurturing dreams and creating a legacy. Could she live fully while stifling her artistic voice? In that moment, the answer crystallized. No longer paralyzed by fear, Sarah resolved to embrace art completely, to pour her soul into the pieces she wanted to create. She would share her truth with the world, no compromises. But as the hours rolled by, the shadows of her financial worries crept back in. To participate in the art show, she would need supplies, a proper canvas to showcase her new vision. Her bank account whispered bitter truths. Just as she gathered her painting materials, the doorbell rang, breaking her tension. Outside stood an elderly neighbor holding a large box. Found this at a yard sale, he said, meeting her puzzled gaze. Thought it could help. Start something beautiful. As she opened the box, an array of canvases and paints greeted her, each vibrant color like a new opportunity, each brush promising a fresh start. Tears brimmed in her eyes. The support of her community felt like a tether to a brighter future. Thank you, she said, her heart swelling. But with those new supplies, a million thoughts raced. Could this shift her trajectory? Would her true art be enough? With anticipation and uncertainty swirling within her, Sarah took a step back and stared at the canvas as if for the first time. Would she embark on the path laid out by her heart, or would she pursue the security pulling at her from the shadows? The clock ticked loudly, leaving her on the edge of a decision that would change everything. The sun dipped low in the evening sky, casting an orange hue through Sarah's kitchen windows. The new canvases sat against the wall, vibrant and full of promise, yet her heart was still tangled in uncertainty. She picked up her brush, feeling its weight in her hand. It was a simple tool, but it represented so much more than just paint on canvas. It was a bridge between her world and the dreams she held tight. With each stroke, she imagined her son's delighted face as he watched the dragon come alive, his excitement igniting a passion within her. Creatively fueled, she continued adding scales and fiery eyes, pushing her worries aside for the moment. But as she painted, doubts flickered in the back of her mind, like ghosts replaying old tapes of failed attempts and missed opportunities. Could she really turn this passion into something sustainable? The door creaked again, startling her from her thoughts. Turning around, she found her son standing wide-eyed in the doorway, clutching a drawing he had made. Look, Mom. It's the dragon, he exclaimed, thrusting the paper out with pride. Her heart melted. Wow. That's amazing, buddy. You're a great artist, too. He beamed at her praise, the weight of her doubts momentarily lifted. As he climbed onto a stool to watch her paint, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. Sitting side by side, they shared laughter and stories. Each brushstroke carried her fears away, replaced by the joy of creating something tangible. At that moment, with her son's presence, the art she created became not just an escape, but a shared adventure. Yet, when her son climbed down to fetch a snack, the silence returned, and the walls of doubt closed in around her. She surveyed the colorful chaos in front of her. The dragon was no longer just a painting, but a symbol of her desire to break free. The thought of the upcoming art show loomed over her like a beast, demanding answers. Was she ready to leap? Rubbing her temples, a gentle knock on the door broke her reverie. "Hey, Sarah, want to join us for dinner?" It was her neighbor, the one who gifted her the art supplies. Grateful for the sudden distraction, she agreed and followed him outside, where the late summer air felt warm and inviting. Gathered around the community table, her neighbors shared stories about small victories and losses, moments too familiar to her own heart. Between sips of lemonade, the conversation flowed to art, and a shared passion ignited a new camaraderie. They spoke of local galleries and how art connected them, how it breathed life into their community. As they laughed and reminisced, she felt their stories weaving in with her aspirations, igniting a spark within her again. Back at home, Sarah stowed her paintbrushes, her mind swirling with possibilities. The next morning, she would visit the gallery to plan her display. But as she lay in bed, sleep eluding her, she couldn't shake a creeping anxiety. What if her heart's expression fell flat? What if nobody cared? Images of her unfinished canvas haunted her. Would it be worth it to share her truth if it meant facing rejection again? The clock ticked in the silence of the night, each tick an echo of her unresolved questions. Would she dare to take the leap into her future? How would she navigate the fear that clawed at her heart? When the sun peeked over the horizon again, it wasn't just another day, it felt like the start of something profound. As she stood before her canvas, preparing to paint once more, a familiar sense of urgency settled in. Could she find the courage to reveal her deepest artistic self? She dipped her brush into the vivid paints, ready to confront the unknown, but suddenly, her phone buzzed again, a message that could change everything. What would it reveal, and how would it shape her future? She hesitated, staring at the glowing screen. The message dove from the simple notification into her heart, igniting both curiosity and dread. Taking a breath, she swiped to read it, her eyes quickly scanning the words. It was from her old art professor, an invitation to participate in a local exhibit, alongside talented artisans she admired. Excitement sparked within her, but it was overshadowed by her fears. Would her work stand up to theirs? Would anyone show up to see? Sarah's thoughts swirled, each consideration pulling her further into a whirlpool of self-doubt. She glanced at the dragon on the canvas across the room, a fierce creature brought to life by her brush, yet a reflection of her own struggles. With a sigh, she turned back to her phone, typing a quick reply, "I'd love to." The decision to jump into the unknown felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Sending the message was like plunging into ice-cold water, shocking, yet invigorating. With an electrified heart, she headed back to her easel. The dragon awaited her, and Sarah began painting as if each stroke wrapped around her worries, squeezing them tight. The colors burst onto the canvas, their vibrancy echoing the excitement she felt about the exhibit. Each brush movement seemed to ground her, anchoring the tumultuous array of emotions swirling inside. She remembered her son's enthusiasm, the way his small fingers clutched the drawing of the dragon while his eyes sparkled with pride. "You can do it, Mom," he had said, not entirely sure of the weight of his own words, yet they lingered in her heart like a soft promise. In the soft morning light, she painted with renewed vigor, infusing the dragon with layers of gold and amber, making it gleam while she poured herself into every detail. Thoughts of the exhibit transformed her fear into determination. This was not just about showcasing her art, it was about showing up for herself. It was about taking the risk, regardless of the outcome. A loud laugh from her son pulled her from the depths of her creative trance. He burst into the room, brandishing another piece of art he had made, this one a colorful array of abstract shapes that resembled a dragon dancing in the sky. "Mom! Look! Can we make a dragon party?" He jumped up and down with glee, completely unaware of his mother's anxiety, yet his precious smiles filled her with warmth. A dragon party, huh? She laughed, kneeling to capture his enthusiasm. His innocent joy sparked some deep-rooted inspiration. We can paint a giant one together, and invite all our friends. What do you think? His face lit up, the innocent grin a reminder of the magic she found in art. At that moment, she realized progress would come through not only her hard work but also through sharing it with her greatest supporter, her son. After a quick breakfast, and amidst her son's enchanting giggles, she set out for the gallery. Heart racing, she gripped the steering wheel of her small car. The winding roads were like the canvas of her life, full of twists and turns filled with uncertainty. Would she measure up? Would her art resonate? As she drove, past rows of sun-kissed trees, her resolve solidified. This was her opportunity, a chance to expose her creations and her heart, all while nurturing her artistic spirit. Pulling into the gallery parking lot, the nerves danced with possibilities as she parked, anticipation bubbling like heat rising from the asphalt. Stepping out of her car, she took a deep breath, gathering the energy of the moment. As she made her way toward the entrance, each step felt like moving closer to her truth. She would show herself, her art, and everything they represented. But just as her hand reached for the door, a figure appeared by her side, a face she never expected to see again. "Sarah," the voice called out, weaving familiarity with a hint of surprise. It was her old co-worker from before she embraced her passion for painting. "What are you doing here?" Her heart sped up. What did this encounter mean? Would it throw her off course, or was it the very push she needed? Sarah turned to face the familiar face, her cheeks warming as memories flooded back. It was Emma, someone she once confided in about her dreams of becoming an artist. They had both shared late nights at work, coffee breaks filled with laughter, and the kind of camaraderie that felt like family. But that was before Sarah had left the corporate world behind, seeking solace and purpose in paint. "Emma," she murmured, half expecting the warmth of their friendship. Instead, a wave of uncertainty washed over her. "I didn't know you were back in town." Emma smiled, but her eyes seemed clouded with something deeper. "I moved back last month. Just trying to reset, I guess." She looked over Sarah's shoulder at the gallery entrance, a glint of recognition. "And what about you? Art has always been your secret weapon, huh?" "Yeah, something like that," Sarah replied, shifting her weight nervously. She ached to share her journey but feared judgment looming over her like storm clouds. Whispers of self-doubt crept back in. Was she still that same person Emma remembered? "Are you here for the exhibit?" Emma queried, tilting her head. She looked genuine, so Sarah nodded, her heart racing again. "Yeah. I'm showcasing my work. It feels surreal." There it was. She had said it. The words hung in the air like confetti and came with a mixture of pride and terror. Emma's face lit up. "That's amazing. I've always believed in your talent. It must feel incredible to have come this far." The compliment sparked an ember of warmth but also stoked Sarah's old fears. What if her work wasn't enough? What if she had jumped too quickly at an opportunity she didn't deserve? She swallowed hard, battling the whispers in her mind. Before she could dwell too deeply on the what-ifs, Emma continued, "I actually came by today to look at a few pieces. Mind if I tag along?" Sure. "Let us go in together," Sarah said, surprised by the sudden rush of courage. They stepped inside side by side, the cool air of the gallery enveloping them. The walls shimmered with colors and stories, each piece alive with emotion just like her dragon. As they wandered through the exhibit, Sarah felt a strange camaraderie reawaken. Emma pointed out certain pieces, expressing genuine admiration. Each compliment felt like a hug, reinforcing Sarah's belief in her own talent. Yet, her anxiety lingered like a shadow, whispering doubts as she approached her own artwork. "Wow, Sarah. This is stunning," Emma said, standing before the dragon painting. "You captured raw power here." "I think it reflects a lot of me, to be honest," Sarah replied, staring at the fierce creature. It was like looking into a mirror, revealing not just her fears, but her journey, the battles fought and the courage found. "What do you mean?" Emma asked, her curiosity perking up. What's the story behind it? The question caught Sarah off guard. Did she really want to dig that deep? Could she lay bare her vulnerabilities right there, against the backdrop of her art? Maybe it's about overcoming the struggles within, she began, tentatively. It represents my journey back to myself, after everything I've been through. Emma nodded, a soft understanding in her eyes. That's powerful. Art isn't just a medium, it's cathartic, isn't it? Just then, a group of visitors approached, drawn by the vibrant colors of Sarah's dragon. They began discussing the piece, expressing their admiration, and in that moment, a new confidence washed over Sarah. And yet, right as she began to believe in herself, something stirred deep down. Questions lingered. Was this truly the new beginning she hoped for, or was it just another fleeting moment? As Emma chatted with the guests, Sarah's gaze drifted past the crowd to the far corner of the gallery. There, a flicker of recognition caught her eye, a familiar face, one she had not seen in years. It belonged to her biggest rival from art school. What would happen next? Would this encounter push her to new heights, or drag her back into the shadows of her past? Sarah's heart raced as she locked eyes with the familiar figure across the gallery. It was Caroline, with her glossy hair and an air of confidence that could fill a room. Memories rushed back: competition, jealousy, the faint tension that simmered between them in art school. A part of Sarah wanted to flee, to hide behind her painting, but she was rooted in place, caught between pride and the nagging fear of being overshadowed. Emma noticed her distraction. Hey, you okay? She asked, concern creasing her brow. Yeah, just it's Caroline, Sarah admitted, nodding toward her old rival. We had a bit of a history. Do you want to say hi? It could be good for you. Emma's voice was steady, encouraging. I don't know. Sarah hesitated, her stomach twisting. She felt like the dragon in her painting, powerful yet vulnerable. What if Caroline judged her art? What if she dismissed her efforts with a wave of her hand? Just take a breath, Emma said, gently prodding. You've come this far. You're showcasing your work. She doesn't define you anymore. With a steadying breath, Sarah squared her shoulders. Okay. Let's do this. They walked over, Sarah's pulse pounding in her ears with every step. As they approached, Caroline turned, her playful smile vibrant. Well, well. Look who it is, she said, feigning surprise. The little artist has blossomed. I gotta admit, your work looks interesting. Thanks, Sarah managed, her voice steadier than she felt. It's a new direction for me. She could feel Emma's supportive presence beside her, anchoring her. Caroline leaned closer to the dragon painting, tilting her head as though appraising it. Is this your first exhibit? She asked, her tone softening just a bit. It is, Sarah replied, trying to suppress the thrill of vindication that surged within her. I've been working hard on my technique. It represents my journey, figuring out who I am and what I want to express. Sounds deep, Caroline said, but there was a glint in her eye. I hope you're not getting too caught up in the deep stuff. Art should be more about impact than introspection. As words dripped from Caroline's mouth, something in Sarah shifted. It wasn't just about proving herself anymore, it was about being authentic. Art is both, actually. It's a reflection of our lives and emotions, Sarah countered, her voice firm. If it doesn't come from a real place, then what's the point? Caroline raised an eyebrow, the surprise evident on her face. Sarah stepped back, surprised by her own boldness, but it felt liberating. She was no longer that nervous girl from art school, afraid of being overshadowed. Just then, a few more guests approached, drawn in by their conversation. Intrigued murmurs filled the air, some even complimenting Sarah's work. It was as if she were standing in a spotlight, breaking free of the past shackles that held her down. Caroline, still recovering from Sarah's unexpected assertiveness, finally said, Well, good luck, Sarah. I guess it's nice to see you doing well. Her tone was begrudging, but there was a hint of respect that hadn't been there before. Thanks, Caroline. You too. It's been a journey. The words felt right on Sarah's tongue. For once, she didn't feel small. As Caroline walked away, Emma clapped Sarah on the shoulder. Wow. I didn't know you had that in you. Me neither, Sarah breathed, still reeling. She glanced at the dragon painting again, feeling a sense of pride wrap around her like armor. This was her moment, not just an exhibition of her art but an unveiling of herself. But just then, as the discussions about her dragon swirled around her, she spotted another familiar face emerging from the crowd, a face she had hoped to avoid. It was a mentor from her past, the very one who had initially discouraged her dreams of being an artist. Would this encounter challenge her newfound courage, or would it propel her forward on this remarkable journey? As the crowd around her buzzed with excitement, Sarah's heart dropped into her stomach. The familiar face of Mr. Thompson, her former mentor, loomed closer, an aura of authority following him like a shadow. Memories of his dismissive critiques flooded her mind, the harsh words that had left a mark deeper than any brushstroke. "Sarah," he said, his voice smooth yet distant, as if he were addressing an old acquaintance. "What a surprise to see you here. Your work looks vibrant." "Thank you, Mr. Thompson," she replied, her voice only revealing a hint of the tension that knotted her insides. The warmth of their previous encounters had long turned cold, replaced with the unease of unspoken judgments. "You've pursued art seriously, I see," he continued, his eyes scanning her painting with an almost clinical detachment. "I remember when you first struggled with the basics. It's impressive that you, a hobbyist, have gotten to this point." The word hobbyist stung. Sarah felt all her progress and newfound confidence teetering on the edge. She took a breath, grounding herself. "It's been a journey, like I said. I learned a lot since then, and I've worked hard to embrace the process. It's more than just a side moment now, it's part of who I am." Mr. Thompson's eyes sharpened, intrigued but not convinced. "That's admirable. Growth is essential. But can we be honest for a moment? The industry is tough, and many people have talent and passion without finding success." His words were like cold water splashed across a warm flame. This was the man who had cast doubt over her capabilities. Now, he was feeding that doubt again. Sensing her frustration, Emma stepped in, her sharp gaze fixed on Mr. Thompson. "Sarah's work tells a story. It touches people in a way that only genuine art can. Don't you think that's worth exploring?" Mr. Thompson raised an eyebrow, perhaps assessing Emma's boldness more than Sarah's art. "It's important to be realistic, young lady. Art needs to resonate in a broader market, not just in your personal journey." The crowd's murmurs around them grew more intense, a wave of support spilling out for Sarah as people chimed in, praising her painting. Each compliment acted as a shield against Mr. Thompson's criticisms. But despite the surrounding support, doubt lingered naggingly at the edge of Sarah's thoughts. She took a deep breath, tapping into the strength she had found just moments ago. "But if we only create what sells, we lose a part of ourselves. This painting," she gestured to her dragon, "it speaks of resilience. That's a story worth telling. Maybe that's what the world needs, to see more of art that comes from honesty, from struggle." Mr. Thompson's expression shifted. Was that a flicker of appreciation? Or was it just surprise at her defiance? Before he could respond, someone from the crowd shouted, "That's right. Keep going, Sarah." Elated yet anxious, Sarah felt the admiration lift her spirits. As Mr. Thompson's gaze softened just a fraction, she realized this moment was about more than facing her past. It was about being proud of her evolution, standing firmly in her truth regardless of past judgments. Just then, as applause filled the air for her, a woman approached, sporting a familiar handshake and a portfolio in hand, the director of a local gallery. "Sarah, I noticed your work from across the room. Your dragon tells a powerful story. Would you consider showcasing more in our next exhibit?" "What?" The ground felt unsteady beneath her. An opportunity had just opened like a door swinging wide. She glanced at Emma, who wore a dazzling grin, drowning her in encouragement. Sarah's heart raced, but it felt different this time, ignited by hope. But then she caught Mr. Thompson's gaze again, a mixture of something she couldn't quite define lurking in his eyes. Was it doubt? Regret? Perhaps he wasn't finished challenging her just yet. Sarah, he said abruptly, his tone shifting, voice low yet commanding. Before you jump at this shiny opportunity, consider whether it aligns with your long-term goals. Would his interference knock her off balance, or could she turn this moment into a catalyst for the future she wanted? Sarah's pulse quickened. The room buzzed around her, but all she could hear was the low hum of Mr. Thompson's voice. Your long-term goals. Those words echoed, clashing with the praise and excitement swirling in the air. He had a way of skimming right to the surface, making her question everything. What do you mean? Sarah finally managed, trying to steady her breath. Her voice was steady, but inside, she felt a storm brewing. Mr. Thompson leaned in slightly, lowering his voice even more. Exhibits are about marketability. They often favor trends over genuine emotion. That flashy dragon may get you attention now, but it's about what comes next that will define your trajectory. She wanted to argue, to push back against this man who had once stifled her creative fire. But she felt the thrumming of doubt ignite again. Would he be right? Was she merely riding a wave instead of building something meaningful? Emma shot a look at Sarah, then at Mr. Thompson. Doesn't anything genuine have a place in the market? Sarah's work captures a truth. Isn't that what art is ultimately about? Mr. Thompson glanced at Emma, a mix of disdain and acknowledgement on his face. Sometimes, dear, the truth is less profitable than illusion. As the crowd continued to murmur, Sarah felt a sense of clarity wash over her. This wasn't just about a single painting or a single opportunity. It was about her voice, her story, and how she wanted it to unfold. She took a deep breath, the warmth of Emma's support solidifying her resolve. I appreciate your concern, Sarah said, her voice stronger this time. But I refuse to dilute my journey for the sake of profit. I want to create art that matters, not just what might sell today. If that doesn't resonate with the market, then I'll find a market that does. The words hung in the air. The crowd had quieted, a collective breath held as they processed her declaration. She felt that the spark that had been dimmed for so long beginning to flicker back to life. She was no longer a hobbyist, she was an artist with something to say. Mr. Thompson's expression was inscrutable. Then, his lips curled into a slight smile. It wasn't filled with derision, there was almost a hint of respect. That's a bold stance, Sarah. But boldness comes with risk. Are you prepared to face disappointment? Her heart thudded in her chest, but she met his gaze with conviction. I'd rather chase authenticity and risk failure than play it safe and never truly express who I am. Just then, applause erupted from the crowd again, louder than before. Emma was clapping the hardest, her face glowing. The director from the gallery stepped in closer, her eyes sparkling. That's the spirit, Sarah. We want artists who understand their worth, who aren't afraid to embrace their unique stories. We'd love to have you present more of your work in our exhibit. The words enveloped Sarah like a warm embrace. An opportunity with potential, promise, and threat. She could either step through or retreat into the shadows and let her fear consume her. As she smiled widely, an alarming thought crept into the corners of her mind. What if this moment was just a fleeting burst of confidence, a blip before returning to doubt? Mr. Thompson, she said, her voice shaky but resolute. Do you think I'll ever be ready? He paused, weighing her question. Readiness is a construct, he finally decided, and often, you'll find it only after you take the leap. With that, Sarah felt the weight of a decision blossoming within her. She glanced at Emma, who nodded vigorously, and then back to Mr. Thompson, whose praise and challenges both lingered before her. Then a sound broke through the moment, a low murmur rising from the back of the crowd. A woman gestured erratically, pointing toward an emergency exit. The expressions of horror around her sent a chill through Sarah. What was happening? She turned to Emma, fear creeping in. What's going on? The crowd shifted, and in that moment, the atmosphere changed entirely. Was this night about to take a turn she had never anticipated? Panic rippled through the room like a shockwave. Conversations halted, laughter faded, and a heavy silence enveloped Sarah as she followed Emma's gaze toward the woman. There was a sense of urgency coursing through the crowd as attendees turned away from the spectacle of art and toward an unseen threat. "Stay here," Emma urged, gripping Sarah's arm tightly. "I'll check on what's happening." Sarah nodded, her mind racing. She wanted to follow, but her legs felt glued to the ground. In that moment, she felt small and vulnerable, caught in the tangles of doubt that had plagued her for months. What if this evening ended in chaos? What if her performance and this opportunity were snatched away in an instant? As Emma moved through the crowd, Sarah let her eyes scan the room. Faces reflected varying degrees of confusion and concern. Some people were moving towards exits, others were standing frozen like her. But amidst the chaos, she spotted Mr. Thompson. He remained composed, observing, as if this were just another day in the unpredictable world of art. Then, with a sudden surge of resolve, Sarah stepped forward, determined not to be swept away with the other's fear. She was an artist, and the true essence of her work was rooted in vulnerability, in facing the tumult of life head-on. "Wait!" she called out, raising her voice to be heard over the crowd's rising tension. "Let us not panic." The murmurs quieted slightly, and a few heads turned to her. Encouraged by their attention, she pressed on, "We can't forget why we're here. This is a night to celebrate art and connection. If we allow fear to take over, we lose sight of that." Someone let out a shaky breath. Encouraged, she continued, "Whatever is happening, we need to stand together. Let us support each other, like true artists do. Please, let us stay calm." Just then, a distant siren pierced the stillness. The crowd collectively flinched, and Sarah could see the woman gesturing again, clearly agitated. Emma returned to her side, shaking her head. "It's a false alarm. Someone thought they saw smoke or something. The fire department is on their way, but it's all a misunderstanding." Relief washed over Sarah, but the fear of the unknown still lingered. What if everything we've worked for crumbles because of a moment of confusion? Emma studied her for a moment. "You can't allow that fear to intimidate you, Sarah. Look around. Your voice matters. Just a few minutes ago, you stood your ground. You're an artist, embrace that." As the sirens grew softer and people began to calm down, Sarah felt a warmth stir within her. Maybe this wasn't just a false alarm. Maybe it was a reminder that chaos could exist alongside clarity. A moment to pause and reflect on how she could channel her fears and experiences into her work. The crowd began to disperse as the fire department arrived, giving assurances. The gallery director approached Sarah again, her expression serious. "Despite the scare, I still believe in you. This is a chance to question and reflect, to dig deeper into what makes your art authentic. I want you to explore that." "Yes," Sarah said, the spark in her heart igniting once more. "I'll take this risk." But as the gallery began to bustle back into energy, a nagging thought nagged at her. Would she truly have the courage to challenge herself in the face of potential failure? New possibilities danced in her mind, and a fierce determination settled in her heart. She wasn't just going to share her art, she was going to pour herself into the pieces and confront every shadow that threatened her voice. Little did Sarah know, this night was only the beginning. The real test awaited her in the depths of her creative journey, and she could feel it looming just beneath the surface, the submission deadline for art that would define her next leap. What awaited her now as she ventured deeper into her truth? As the night wore on, the gallery gradually regained its vibrancy, chatter igniting like sparks in the warm air. But Sarah stood still, taking in everything, her heart beating to a new rhythm, the echoes of applause still humming in her ears. She could feel Emma by her side, her unwavering support a smoldering ember in the dance of her emotions. "What's next for you?" Emma asked, her eyes glimmering with anticipation. But Sarah didn't need to think long. She had come too far to let fear dictate her path. "I want to submit my work to that exhibit," she said, each word powerful and deliberate. "I want to show the world who I really am, who I've become." A renewed determination surged through her. Painting wasn't just a process, it was a declaration of her identity and her journey. That's the spirit. Emma beamed, her infectious enthusiasm reigniting Sarah's confidence. The next morning, Sarah awakened with a palpable energy, ready to embark on her next chapter. The dragon painting still hung in her kitchen, shimmering in the morning light, as if it knew the transformations that awaited her. She couldn't return to the shadows of self-doubt. She had to honor the growth that had blossomed in her heart. She got to work immediately, sketching ideas for her submission. The canvas became a battleground, where each brushstroke fought against the fear of inadequacy and the urge to conform. This was her truth. Her art would reflect not just the struggle but the joy of rising like the phoenix from the ashes. Days turned into nights, and Sarah poured herself into her work. Each canvas she created was an extension of her journey, products of her laughter, her tears, the warmth of her community's support. They reflected her newfound freedom. With each stroke, her spirit roared like the dragon she had painted, fearless and unapologetic, and on the day of submission, as she entered the gallery with her completed pieces, her heart raced with excitement and trepidation. But Sarah had shed the burdens of yesterday. The director greeted her warmly, eyes sparkling with admiration. "You're not just an artist, Sarah. You're a storyteller." After the paperwork was completed and the paintings hung, she stepped back to admire her work, basking in the realization that she had indeed found her voice. The dragon glowed with a spirit that resonated deep within her, a symbol of her perseverance and authenticity. And when the exhibit night arrived, it unfolded like magic. The gallery was packed with familiar faces, friends, neighbors, and even that mentor who had once doubted her. As visitors moved from piece to piece, she could feel the connections being made, her heart swelling with pride at how her art touched those around her. People gathered in front of her largest piece, the dragon. Comments filled the air like sweet melodies. "It's powerful. So much depth. You can feel the emotion." The validation washed over her, filling the spaces where doubt had once lingered. But when Sarah spotted Caroline again, she felt no threat. No rivalry. Instead, she found understanding. As they exchanged nods, a silent acknowledgement passed between them. There was enough room for each of their journeys. And so, the night continued, filled with laughter and heartfelt conversations. When it was time to speak, Sarah stood in front of the crowd, her voice strong and steady. "Art is more than just a piece of canvas, it's a reflection of who we are, our triumphs, our struggles. I stand here not because I found my path, but because I realized I am allowed to forge it." Tears shimmered in the crowd, the authenticity in her words resonated deeply. It was a moment of triumph, not just for her, but for everyone who had supported her. As the exhibit closed, the gallery director approached her, a glimmer of something profound in her eyes. "Sarah, we want to showcase your work throughout the community. This is just the beginning." Overwhelmed with gratitude, Sarah felt her heart spread. This was her family, her community. They believed in her, in the authenticity of her art and the light she had found. With renewed purpose, Sarah stepped outside, breathing in the crisp night air. She felt free, electric with possibility. She imagined future exhibits, painted memories with her son, and the laughter of neighbors surrounding every brushstroke. In that moment, standing against the backdrop of the night sky, she knew this was just the beginning. There were dragons to slay, mountains to climb, and a story yearning to be told. And if there was anything Sarah had learned, it was this: fear could only hold her back if she allowed it to. She had risen, and now she was ready to embrace whatever came next. You need to subscribe now. Don't miss out on the next exclusive stories that will inspire you to unleash your authentic self. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep these uplifting tales alive. Comment below your reactions and feelings about Sarah's transformation. Let's share this journey together, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video. Send it to at least 5 friends who need to see this amazing transformation. True fans like you understand how important it is to support the channel.